you get plenty of coverage of Oklahoma State football. You think you hear all the noise coming from Gallagher-Iba Arena when you get your Cowboy basketball news. But you don't.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
And there's a couple of Jordans here to fix just that. This is the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast.
This could be a podcast. Anyone with a computer can make one.
And here are your hosts, Jordan Keene and Jordan Bishop.
Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast, Triple Play Podcast Network. Had a little bit of a technical issue to start there, so we'll restart things. Jordan and Jordan with you. I believe this is episode 33. I haven't gone through and done the graphics yet, so I think it's 33, which is, hey, we're just moving right along here, Bishop. Glad to have you along again, and appreciate people tuning in. Coming up a little bit later on, Julia Lenhardt joins the podcast. She is one of the captains, the third captain. We have now interviewed all the captains. It's Julia Lenhardt, J.C. Jones, and Hannah Webb. Got all of them, and also have had Grace Yoakum on the podcast. Yes. So, and you will find out later on the second half of the podcast who Julia nominated and who will be next week's podcast guest. That's what we've been doing. We'll let them nominate the people. I know when we get back to basketball and softball, I don't know if we'll be able to continue doing that because we've had some of these players on before, so we may need to do some fresh players on both of those. But obviously, the big news this weekend, Jordan, is soccer continues, but we're starting to ramp up with a lot more sports.
Yeah, like you mentioned before we started this, you're going through the tabs like, oh, this team had their opening weekend. Oh, this team had media day. Oh, this team has some stuff going on. So it seems like every single person's in swing right now, and including I think softball starts up next week for fall. So yeah.
Well, let's just run through really quickly the opening of some of these teams. We'll do that. We'll get that out of the way here. We'll dive into soccer and some of the other things coming up a little bit later on. So stick around if you want that. But if you're just here for a short time, not a long time, for a good time, not a long time. Let's knock things out. You mentioned softball. They get started this weekend, I believe it is, Sunday against Wichita, or is it Wichita State? Yeah, Wichita State is who they get started with, one of the area foes that has kind of become kind of a rival, so to speak, with some of the games that they've had against them, a lot of exciting ones. You go back to spring, big Michaela Richburg Day against Wichita State. I think a lot of people are excited about her, but they get started this weekend. We'll get into the Clearwater Invitational coming up in just a little bit. You mentioned Media Day for basketball. They get things rolling. Coach Littell was at the podium. People got to talk to reigning All-American Vivian Gray. Really excited about this program. Obviously, we've talked at length over the summer, Jordan, about the recruiting class that they got coming in that features the top-ranked JUCO in Natasha Mack, top-ranked player from Canada in Micah Dennis, and a lot of these players. It's just an exciting time for that program as well.
Yeah, and just a tidbit from basketball, just Coach Littell mentioned, everybody, I think somebody asked about what they're going to do with rebounding now that Latasha Jones is gone, because she was such a good force on the boards for him. Coach Littell's like, Natasha Mack. She's got, like her, she's coming there 6'4", and then you have obviously Cassie Lapp at 6'4" as well in their second year. Who they talked to her a little bit too, and she mentioned how much she's refined her game a bit and gotten tougher because she said last year as a freshman she felt kind of undersized a little bit as a little like kind of she said she was a baby freshman going against Kalani Brown and all those people, but she feels that she's has earned a spot in the Big 12 now. So I think the front court's gonna be looking pretty good for the Cowgirls.
Yeah, you had that Miriam Nanu, who it sounds like is, according to just what I've heard from Coach Annan on the radio side of things, sounds like she's taken the requisite steps to become a little bit more comfortable here. And obviously, those JUCOs, they come in. Excuse me. The JUCOs come in, and you got to make the most out of your 2 years here. It seems like she just got here. She did just get here a year ago, and she's already in her senior year. So hopefully she contributes as well for this team. So, but a lot of exciting stuff coming out from that. And then this weekend was the start for the Cowgirl equestrian team. They go out to Martin, Tennessee, play UT or face off ride against UT Martin, beat them 14-4. The Skyhawks apparently is the UT Martin mascot. Did not know that before this. But not riding the Skyhawks well because they lost 14-4 to the Cowgirls, and a good start. And then obviously, they performed as well as you probably could hope for to open out the season against Auburn as well. Number 1 team in the country, I believe defending national champions. I could be wrong on that, but I believe they were the defending national champions. Team that knocked you out of the competition last year in the national stage. So good start against them. They only lost 12-8, and hearing Coach Sanchez on with Steve Daniels this morning, it sounds like they were just a few performances, a few points here and there away from flipping that 12-8 score to being a 12-8 win, and he thinks this is a team, for talking about OSU, that has a real chance to compete for a national championship this season.
Yeah, that's a good sign, Jordan, because last year, obviously, when we talked to them, the Cowgirls finished, or they made a good ride to, Big 12s and to nationals. They didn't finish as well as they wanted to in nationals, but they did better in the spring season than they did in the fall season. The fall season wasn't very good. Coach Sanchez even mentioned about how inexperienced they were in the fall and how much better they got over the off season, or in between seasons, Christmas break, I guess, between the spring season. So that's good that they're actually competing well right now, because it just means they're going to be even better in the spring and hopefully can get that national championship like you mentioned.
Before we get into soccer, Jordan, let's talk real quickly about Cowgirl softball, and it really exciting when you look at what they got going on at the Clearwater Invitational. Now, last year you played against LSU, you played against some of these top teams over there. Obviously, it served you well, helped your RPI, helped prepare you for Big 12, helped prepare you for what ended up being a magical postseason run where you get all the way to the Women's College World Series and you finish as a top 6 team. But you look at that. You look at the schedule, we'll pull it up right here. Virginia Tech, South Florida, Minnesota, Missouri, Alabama. Minnesota, Alabama, both reigning Women's College World Series teams as well. You advanced further than both of those teams. I guess you were kind of tied with Alabama, so to speak. But, you advanced as far or further than those two teams. Mizzou is an SEC team. That's a team that you got to keep on your radar. South Florida is always very strong. And then the one that I think is kind of the marquee matchup, you open up this tournament with Virginia Tech. People may not remember this, but that's where you got Carrie Eberle from, and she's your new supposed ace pitcher. I guess we'll find out come spring, but everyone's assuming, looking at her numbers, ACC Pitcher of the Year. She gets to face her team early on in the season.
Yeah, that'll be a good matchup to start off with. And that's what I like about this invitational, and I think it's the premier invitational of the non-conference slate all around the country for softball. There's so many Women's College World Series teams that go to this, and St. Pete, and I think it's great. I think it's the second week of the season. Usually OSU went to Houston last year before they went down to Florida, and you have all those teams down there, and it was kind of what put OSU on the map a little bit. And I think it's going to be happening again. Minnesota, I think, is going to have a down year. They don't have that pitcher they had that carried them all the way to the World Series, and frankly, is all they had in the circle. I don't think they ever brought anybody else in. And then Alabama's going to have a good team again, so that's going to be tough to face, but I think it's great to start with.
When you look at the rest of just in case there's just sheer softball fans that listen to us, this is a very strong tournament year in and year out. We always say this. OU and Texas were both down there, I believe, last year as well, so this is a really strong tournament every single year. Alabama, Florida State, Georgia, James Madison, Kansas, Liberty, Minnesota, Missouri, Oklahoma State, South Carolina, South Florida, Texas, UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Washington. Those are the first 15. I forget who the 16th is that was announced. But, I mean, you look at this field, Jordan. It is every single year, year after year after year. Florida State's always, seems like they're always there. OU's normally there. They're not there this year. I mean, every single year, the teams that get invited to this are the best of the best. And to be recognized in that group, I think, is pretty special for Gajewski's program.
Yeah, I mean, you got the reigning national champion right there in UCLA. And you got another good team in Washington that, not knocked you out. And also, I think gave UCLA a pretty good fight. So it's the pedigree that shows up to this. I think it's what's great about – a couple of years ago, they started going to this, and then obviously they've gotten better since then. So they become a stalwart to be in the tournament. But I think having Kansas and Texas Tech, that's be great for their programs. Kansas is a team that struggles a bit. They've gotten better in recent years, and this is going to be a big thing for being on national stage. Same with Texas Tech. So I think you won't get to play them, but you can get to see them if you're scouting wise. You get to see what they're like early in the season. Is going to help the Cowgirls out a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of these cross over as well, so you might be able to you may have a common opponent after this as well. Northwestern, the other team that got invited, so another Big Ten team in there. And Northwestern had a pretty good season last season, so yeah, kind of interesting. But those are 16 really, really good teams. And that's always the case, as you talk about with the Clearwater Invitational tournament. So there you go. Golf. Illinois we finally got into the weekend, Jordan. I do believe. I'll look it up and make sure I'm correct, but I'm 99.99% sure that this is the weekend that Cowgirl Golf heads up to Golf, Illinois. And by the way, back into the top 25. We're a week into the Greg Roberts, or we were a week when we found out this information. Week into the Greg Robertson era, and you're already into the top 25. I think it was either 23 or 24.
Well, that's great, and we talked about how well they did start off with, and even though we were kind of wondering about what they did, the starting five, I think he's done great. And to have I know it's rankings in the fall season, kind of like asking Colin Carmichael. Colin doesn't even care about rankings in the regular season for soccer, but just in the fall season for golf, I know it's not something you want to think about. It doesn't really do much, but it does put your program on a different spectrum and say, hey, they are doing the right things. They are getting recognized a little bit, and that means that, if push comes to shove in the spring, they can be making some names. They might be, making some moves up the preseason polls that they're either right outside receiving votes or already ranked in the preseason spring polls.
Yeah, it would be nice, and they're going to have some chances here down for the rest of the fall to make sure that what you just said is the case. It's the Windy City Collegiate Classic up there at Glenview Golf Club. So a really prestigious course up there in Gulf, Illinois, which is a real, believe it or not, is a real city or town, I suppose, based on its population. But anyways, let's move over to some soccer, Jordan. We'll close it out with some soccer and then get to the Julia interview. Julia Lenhardt coming up in just a few minutes here. Texas Tech, TCU, tough road trip. If you look at some of the polls, the highest poll for Oklahoma State, 18th. That is the coaches' poll now after being 25th last week, going 1-0-1. I thought it was kind of interesting that they moved up 7 spots, but they did. We'll take it. No doubt about it. Yeah, no doubt. 7-0-2 through the non-con, undefeated, taking on a tough Texas Tech team. 8-1 through the non-conference season, into the top 20 in some polls. They're 24th or 23rd. One of the two in the coaches poll as well. So this is a really good Texas Tech team, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Cowgirls do this weekend, most specifically. But tonight I think is going to be a really interesting one against Texas Tech.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Carmichael at availability, and he mentioned that it's a hard atmosphere to play in down there in Lubbock because they have a turf field, not something you see very often. And he mentioned the winds, which is something I hear everybody mention. Even Coach Young mentions with the tennis team playing outside. The winds a factor down there in the West Texas Plains, and the fans are rowdy. They're into it, which is great for college soccer. Not great for a cowgirl. Having tortillas maybe thrown. I don't know if they do tortillas there, but they might bring them to the soccer matches. So, but. I think it's a great a thing though, because you've been at home the past couple of weeks. You get to knock out some of these first Big 12 games on the road. Means you're going to be at home later in the season. That's great to know. And plus, if you get a win at Texas Tech, that just shows even more that how good you are to the RPI people, and it gives you some confidence.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Texas Tech, I looked it up. They have tied for the top goal scorer in the country right now, 10 goals. For her, she's terrific. I'll get her name in just a second. But she's phenomenal. She's someone to watch out for tonight. Cowgirls top 20 defensively, so it's kind of going to be interesting because Texas Tech as a team, obviously when you have the leading goal scorer in the country, you're probably going to be somewhere around the top 10. They're inside the top 10 in terms of goal scoring. Goals against average, Oklahoma State inside the top 20. Texas Tech a little bit further down. They're 42nd, I believe, in the country in terms of defensive statistics. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting because it's kind of a fascinating dichotomy because Tech wants to score. They may give up a few more goals, but they want to score. Oklahoma State, they don't want to give up any goals. They'll try to nick a goal and beat you 1-0, beat you 2-1, beat you in a tough, grinded-out kind of match. So I'll be kind of interested to see how these two styles play. This is like Texas Tech. It feels like Texas Tech soccer seems like they still got like the Patrick Mahomes thing. Like, let's just score, let's just outscore them, right? Like, let's score a bunch of goals. We're one of the top teams in the country putting the ball in the back of the net. Let's just score. And obviously, I haven't seen them enough. They could be good defensively, but a few spots below Oklahoma State in terms of defense. Whereas Colin Carmichael, it's let's keep our good shape. Let's find each other. Let's possess the ball. Make sure they don't get a ton of good shots. Keep the chances limited. So I just think it's kind of a fascinating dichotomy to watch between the two styles.
Yeah, I think since they were able to temper Penn State's aggressive attack, I think you can do the same thing against Texas Tech. I mean, that's a great game plan to go in there with if you're calling, which I'm sure he's going to be doing that. And I think overall it's going to work out. I really do think OSU can beat Texas Tech. I think they can beat TCU over the weekend. Start the year off 2-0 in the Big 12 because they have such a good defense. We talked to Danny Greenlee last week about how good that defensive line was in front of her as she's in goal, and I think they hold up again. And you're right, Jordan. They do enough to get Nick in a goal here and there on offense, and that's enough for them.
I'll be interested, Jordan, because I would be thrilled to go 1-0-1 in this weekend. Win one, tie one. I think that would be a terrific result, but I'm with you, man. I think they can win both of these games. Just a couple words on going over to Fort Worth. Obviously, it's easier now that they have. By the way, Kirsten Davis is Texas Tech's leading goal scorer. She has 10 goals on the year. That's tied with one other girl from another school. She's one of the best in the country in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net. Someone to keep an eye on if you're watching.
How low scoring those are between Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Last year, Texas Tech won 1-0. 2017, 2016, OSU won 1-0. So it looks like even though Tech likes to run that fast offense, it looks like it's been defense that has won it.
Which I think it bodes well for Oklahoma State. I mean, I think that what that tells me is that Oklahoma State's been able to force their will, impose their will, make Texas Tech play Oklahoma State Cowgirl soccer, and I think that happens a lot. I think we saw I think we saw Penn State have to play Oklahoma State Cowgirl soccer, and I think when push comes to shove, I think Carmichael does such a good job of drilling into his team how to stay compact, stay in your formation, keep your shape, all of that stuff, and they do such a good job with that, and they challenge them outside. They challenge them in non-conference. So I think when they get into these push-come-to-shove matches, they find a way to make you play our style, right? I think that can't be overstated.
Yeah, I think that fits right into the whole Oklahoma State, kind of tradition. I know that the football team is more offensive now, but everyone talks about Cowboy basketball, Cowgirl basketball defense. The tough, no style, and that's what Coach Carmichael likes to do. And he likes to have people in shape. He likes to chase you out of the field, and that's I think what they're going to do tonight down in Lubbock. No matter if they're playing on turf, they're playing on grass, playing on dirt, they're going to be better in shape, I think, than any other team they go against.
Yeah, should be really really good. But looking forward to this one tonight. If you want to catch it. Well, I suppose I may not get this up till tomorrow. So, but hopefully, if you wanted to watch, it's on TexasTech.tv. So I don't know if they'll have a replay up or not, but Texas Tech not yet part of the Big 12 Plus. So the ESPN Plus Big 12 now, not part of that yet. So can't catch it on that. Before we get to TCU, we'll throw the Julia Lenhardt interview in here, kind of break things up. When we come back, we'll tell you first of all who she nominated, who we got coming up next week, and then after that, we'll talk a little bit about TCU, close the thing out coming up next. This is the Cowgirl Coverage Podcast. Julia Lenhardt right now. Jordan and Jordan down here at Neil Patterson Stadium, and now joined by Julia Lenhardt, and appreciate you taking out a few minutes to join us.
Yeah, thanks for your time as well. I'm excited.
So we've started out with JC, Grace, and Hannah, and we'll let you nominate the next one. Don't worry, that's coming up.
Okay, cool.
But we start with all of them. If you can go back to your recruitment and what kind of drew you to Oklahoma State? What were some of the facets that made this a place that was somewhere that you maybe wanted to play soccer?
Yeah, for sure. Starting out, I was in high school, so I was pretty young. I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I was just making a list of a bunch of different schools in the region. And so Oklahoma State was one of them because I wanted to be close enough to home where I could drive back if I needed to. It wasn't a plane ride. I was close enough to home but far enough away to get away from my parents, So Oklahoma State was in my top, let's say, 20. So I knew I wanted to take a visit. I emailed the coaches, did all that stuff. And then I took my visit here, and I think the first thing that like struck me was how welcoming like the coaches were, the staff was, like just even the workers on campus and around the school. Everyone was just super welcoming, and it like felt like home. So I was like, okay, this is a great sign. So then we like toured all the facilities, and I just could see myself like living here and having Stillwater be a second home for me. I looked into like the academics, and they had what I wanted to study, which is business, and so then we kind of went into their office, and like we talked about the soccer part and kind of what direction they wanted the team to be headed. Sorry, I'm mumbling. I'm thinking of something else. And so, yeah, it just felt like home. And so I think that was a big part of it, coming from Dallas, just having somewhere I can, like, know I'm safe, know I'm going to make friends, and know I'm going to be happy. So coming here felt like a second home, and I think that's what's been the major player of me being happy here these past 4 years. So it's been awesome.
You mentioned, being so close to home, and obviously Dallas right in the heart of Big 12 country.
Yeah.
You mentioned it when we were talking over there with, a lot of Dallas players with Texas Tech. When you go through the Big 12 schedule, I mean, how many players from other teams like have you played with in the past? Is that quite a long list?
Yeah, definitely. Probably all of them, honestly. TCU, Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, Kansas. I think pretty much every Big 12 team, like me and other girls just around the region, know somebody on that team. And I think it makes it fun because you kind of know their style of play, and you're like, okay, like I know what they're going to do. I'm going to play hard against them, and it kind of amps up the kind of anticipation of the game. So it makes it really fun to play in those type of games because you're playing against some of your best friends from childhood and your club competitors. So I think it's a really fun atmosphere, and it gets kind of the region going as well because, the younger girls can look up to the older girls and be like, oh, I watched her play at my club, like 2 years ago. So I think it's a great support system seeing like the girls like go through their club years and go to the Big 12, and just everyone kind of knows everyone. So I think it's really a really cool experience to have.
Something we asked JC since she's a senior and you're a senior. Just overall, how have you seen yourself, your personal game grow since you first arrived here as a freshman to now?
Yeah. When I first arrived as a freshman, I think I didn't know what to think, I guess. I was just like, okay, I want to get on the field. I want to be able to do my part and just grow myself as a player. But over the years, I think I've become smarter, I guess, as a player because college is a way different level than club or high school. And I think I've grown to be able to tactically, I guess, use my game to win the game overall, like win games. So if it's like late in the second half, how can we as a team tactically do something so that we can, like, if we're up 1-0 or 2-1 to maintain that lead. And I think like the skills and the like technical part of the game, like it has definitely advanced too, but I think my mental game and my like the smartness and sharpness on the field, I think that's what has grown in myself, I guess, if that makes sense.
You're kind of I think it's either you or the juniors are kind of the last class of play back whenever there was the field that was just the one set of stands,
yeah.
Just kind of how have we seen the program grow from then to now?
Oh my gosh, it's been awesome to see it grow. Yeah, I remember coming in freshman year, and we had these white tents on the sideline, right? And we had these big metal bleachers over there on the east side, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, here we go, we're going to do this. And so we would stretch every morning in preseason in the wet grass under the tent. And then we would go on the bench, and it would be just one little metal bench, and we'd put our stuff down just like the club days. And, it was awesome. That's all I knew, and I was just thankful to be playing, college soccer. I think that's what we all thought. And then, sophomore year we heard we were getting the stadium. It was for real. The deal was signed, and we were super excited, but we didn't really know what was going to happen, like how long it would take. I think junior year started to become a reality, and then senior year it came together. And so being able to start from the white tents and the bleachers, and now having this beautiful Neil Patterson Stadium and a locker room and bathrooms, and it's insane. It's awesome to see. And I think that the people before us have worked hard for it. I think obviously we have really worked hard for it too, and Neil Patterson and his family were super generous to be able to give that to us. So yeah, it's been awesome to see through. I'm really grateful to be able to play in it, and I think the girls who have been here and have seen it how it was and to how it is now are really appreciative of it. And I'm hoping in the future too, like we can all, keep it clean and enjoy it and just be really appreciative of it, because it is probably one of the best facilities in the nation, arguably, to me. So it's really cool.
When you got the news that it was going to be built, you didn't know how long it was going to take. Was there some oh man, this might be done after I'm here?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I was like, oh, please open up the locker room. Like even this year, I was like, oh my god, my senior year, please. But yeah, I was nervous. But then last year, we got to have the stands open, so that was cool. I was just like, okay, seeing my parents up there in the stands, that's awesome. And some girls didn't get to use the locker room, and I think we're lucky enough to be able to use that this last year. So yeah, I was nervous a little bit, but being able to be here in this atmosphere is awesome enough. So.
And just looking forward to the rest of this year. Non-conference is over. You had that big win up there at Penn State. It's great. Signature win. What are you looking forward to doing this rest of this year? What's kind of your personal goals, and what do you want to finish your career out on top of?
Yeah. That Penn State win was awesome, for sure. It was really fun. The team was pumped. But I think, the bulk of the season is just getting started. This is what we've all worked hard for, and I think our team knows how much we can accomplish and how much potential we have. And we've set ourselves up for a great position into Big 12 play. So I think this is really where we get into, the nitty-gritty part and having to dig deep and find out it's time, it's go time, really. So I think some team goals that we all kind of want to accomplish is just take it game by game and play every game our best, do the little things right, and play together, play for each other. And I think that Colin said it a lot. If you do the little things right, if you play game by game, you focus on what we've worked on in practice and all season long, the score will take care of itself. The winning will take care of itself. So we just need to focus on the little things and it being in the moment and remember what have made us win in the past. So I think that's something that we really need to focus on.
You said coming into OSU, something you wanted to study was business. Is that what you ended up studying?
Yeah, I did. I'm a marketing and sports management major, so I didn't change it.
So what do you, after you get done, what a dream job for you?
Dream job? Okay, ultimately I want to own a coffee shop, but that's further down the road. Probably event coordinating or event planning with a sports team. I did an internship with Charlotte Motor Speedway this summer, so that was pretty cool. And the events department, just got my feet in the water, but that was really cool. I'm pretty organized, so I think that I can plan and schedule things pretty well, but I don't know yet. I still have a couple months left to figure it out. But
no doubt. Do you have hopes to maybe play soccer after graduation?
I'm thinking about it, maybe overseas, somewhere in Europe, but I'm not sure yet. I still got some time to figure it out.
So the Charlotte Motor Speedway, are you a big NASCAR fan, or do you become one after the summer?
I was not a fan before, and I'm not a fan now. I'll stick to soccer, yeah. It was an awesome experience, though.
So what's the whole coffee shop dream? How'd that come about, and what's your favorite coffee shop in town?
Balance Coffee Company. That's my favorite. I go there, you can ask my friends. I go there a lot to study. It's a super cool atmosphere. I don't really know why I wanted to start a shop. I've always known I wanted to run a business, I guess, but not some boring marketing company. I don't want to do that. I love coffee, and I guess my dad, he always goes to coffee shops too to work, and he would always take me with him, and we just sit there on our computers and talk about anything and everything and have our coffee, and you meet people there, you have conversations, and coffee's not that expensive and it's easy to make. You can make it your own. And I think the atmosphere is super cool. So if you put it can be a little coffee shack, it can be a huge store with couches, I don't know. But you can make it whatever you want. I think it's super cool because you can personalize it. That's a long-term goal. If you guys want to invest, then you can. But yeah, that's my goal.
There you go. Outside of, you mentioned you like to go there to study. Outside of school and soccer and all of that stuff, and we know you don't have a ton of time during the season, but maybe outside of season and outside of school and all of that stuff, what's something away from soccer that you like to do?
I have recently started watching movies. I used to not be a movie person, but now I think my roommates have really pushed me to be one. And now I'm watching Harry Potter. Now I'm on the 7th one, I think.
Okay.
So it's pretty good. I've watched The Internship. These probably are movies that y'all all have seen. But The Internship is pretty good. The Choi. So I think I'm really starting to like movies and wanting to watch more and more. So I like movies, yeah.
You're the movie guy.
The internship with Anne Hathaway and Robert De Niro.
No, Owen Wilson.
Oh,
and
Wilson
Vince
is
Vaughn,
fun.
with
That's a
our
good one
Google.
too. Yeah.
That was funny.
Those are good ones. We are also been asked, who do you live with? Who's your roommates? And kind of what's the roommate life like?
Yeah, I live with Hannah Webb and Cammie Huddleston, and then we have another girl, Maddie May. So there's 4 of us, and we live in a little house. A funny story is we all drew sticks at the beginning. So there's 4 rooms, and then 2 of them have their own bathroom, and 2 of them have to share, right? So I'm the oldest one, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to draw the right stick. I'm going to get the biggest bathroom, the biggest room, and I draw, and it's the one with the shared bathroom in the smallest room, and me and Hannah Webb are like, no! So yeah, me and Hannah Webb are bathroom roomies. Sorry, I'm like stuttering. Yeah, we're bath roomies. We share a bathroom, but it's really nice, honestly. I love them as roommates. We cook for each other. We sit on the back patio and talk about stuff and watch movies all the time. It's really cool. Yeah, it's fun.
Is there a specific meal that you're tasked with making? Is there do you have a specialty?
Taco soup. That's our specialty. We probably make it once a week, and it lasts for like 5 days. So.
There you go. So I'm good with just a cup of Folgers, but what's kind of your favorite coffee? And do you make coffee in the mornings for everybody, or is it just for yourself?
Okay, well, I'm a late sleeper. So usually everybody else in the house is up before me. They're up at like 6 a.m. I'm up at like 9:30 if I don't have anything. So I usually just make it for myself. But I have this espresso machine that I got, and I get the coffee beans from Sprouts, and you put it in the machine. I don't know if you've been there. And then you press espresso, and it grinds it into like super small beans or whatever. I don't know. And then you stick it into your espresso machine, and then you get 2 little espresso cups, and then it squirts out in 2 little streams. And then to make an iced latte, this is what I do. I get almond milk, and then I get like a clear glass, and I put the ice and the almond milk in there, and then I bought Starbucks flavoring from Walmart, so you put a little bit of that into your almond milk, and then you pour the 2 shots of espresso in, and you mix it together, and then that's usually what I make. Pretty simple. I also just got an espresso recipe book, so I'm spicing it up a little bit, but that's usually my go-to.
I think that's all I got.
Okay.
All right, last one I've been asking everyone. Are you a big professional soccer fan like overseas, and do you have a favorite team?
No, I'm not. Actually, I really want to watch more European soccer, but I really don't know. I guess I like Tottenham because their name is cool.
Do you have like a favorite team over here?
Oh, FC Dallas.
Okay, I suppose. You're right. Yeah, that was a bad question. And then a favorite professional soccer player, whether that's men's, women's, someone you looked up to, someone you wanted to model your game after.
I think it's Luka Modric. I watched him in the World Cup. He was pretty good. I liked watching him play. And then Mallory Pugh, because I played against her in club, and I'm just like, oh my God, she's a superstar, and like, I look up to her. So I think she's pretty cool too.
There you go. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm going to invest in this coffee shop.
There we go.
We're going to have to talk business after this. Anyways, Julia, appreciate you stopping by, and best of luck on your road trip to Lubbock.
Thank you.
There you go. Jordan and Jordan will finish things up right after this.
Welcome back into the Cowgirl Coverage podcast. Jordan and Jordan back here at the Triple Play Production Studio. And Jordan, drum roll please. The next Cowgirl Coverage podcast, obviously, my recording skills are waning, but recorder saving audio files, taking that into, we're assuming that happens. Our next guest will be
Charlie Morgan. We already talked to one wing back in Hannah Webb. We're going to get another one, and Charlie Morgan, who we talked about a lot earlier on this season, and we got to interview her just for the availability the other day, and apparently she's a big fan of Big Brother, so we're going to ask her about her fandom of that, how that started, and what her plans are if she ever does audition and if she gets on the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to it. By the way, if Julia listens to this, we're serious about buying stock into the coffee business. We're and I have some cooking experience, so if you want to turn it into a bakery as well, I'm just contact my agent. We'll line things up. But nonetheless, Jordan also got TCU coming up this weekend. That's a Sunday match, and again, that's the nice thing, Colin was on with Robert earlier this week. I think it was yesterday morning when he was on the bus, and tough bus trip down to Lubbock, obviously. But the nice thing is like this was always a bus trip for them, and after Lubbock on a Friday night, you'd hop on the bus. I don't know if you'd stay in Lubbock. You don't know if you'd stay in Fort Worth. Kind of a tough decision. You're traveling the next day if you don't. It's just really, really rushed. Now you play the Thursday-Sunday setup. Gives you an extra day to kind of slow things down, make sure that the girls are able to rest, recover, do that whole post-game thing where you recover and get ready for the next match. I think it's really smart that the NCAA and that the Big 12 kind of conform to the NCAA, where it seems like you look across the country, they're encouraging teams to do this. And I know that cost-wise, it's maybe not quite as cost-efficient. You got another night in a hotel room or whatever else it might be, whatever expenses you also have to go on with this. But I think the NCAA always promotes protecting the student athlete and promoting the student athlete and all of that. And that's what this is. And it's just another way to kind of protect student athletes and make sure that, they're taken care of.
Yeah, and I think it's overall great, especially if you're running a better product too. I mean, it's great to protect the athlete and overall improve their time playing at college, because you want to make sure they're not, if they ever do want to go play professionally or want to have that chance, that they're not worn out because if they're overused in college, because that does happen. So now you're splitting up the time a little bit. You're not making them play so close together. And it's also better for the product as well, because you're watching on the second game of a road trip, they're not worn out and just dragging up and down the field. They're ready to go again. So I think that's overall is a great decision to have this. I like it a lot.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So they get the extra day to travel over there on Sunday to Fort Worth. Again, TCU is not quite as good as Texas Tech, I don't believe. Obviously, I think TCU's played a little bit tougher of a competition. That's why they're 6-3. I don't think it's that they're that much worse than Texas Tech, really. I think it's just a case where, this is a TCU team that goes out and challenges themselves in the non-conference, and that's kind of why they end up with a 6-3 record. It's still going to be nip and tuck, and it's still going to be one where you got to scratch and claw and grind your way to try to get a victory.
Yeah, I know that it's only going to be a little bit before they play them after the Texas Tech match, but TCU is playing OU to start the season off. I think it's in Norman, so maybe Colin can see some tape of that and see how they play, because that is a common opponent, just like SMU was against OU. So that'll be nice to see how they look against a team you've already played.
Yeah, I'll look that up. I believe it's actually at Texas, at TCU. I think how they do this, and let me just make sure this is correct before I spout off about this. Yes, it is at home. I believe what they do is you have a travel partner. So obviously Oklahoma State are travel partners, and then TCU, Texas Tech are kind of quote-unquote travel partners. So you have your travel partner, and then that's how you kind of navigate your schedule. So that's why every time you see the trip to Iowa State, you also see the trip to Morgantown at the same time, and then vice versa. When you're in Ames, OU will be in Morgantown, and then vice versa.
All right, that makes sense, and I like that. They should do that more, yeah, in other sports, because that does make sense that OU plays. So I guess they're going to play Texas Tech then on Sunday.
So.
Yeah, so that it works out well.
Yeah, I just, leave it up to soccer to do it the right way, man. I'm just telling you, soccer people we know how to take care of business, and it's really not a shock. So I'll just make sure that I'm right, and I'm not talking out of my you-know-what here, and I'll pull up OU's soccer schedule and just make sure that I'm correct on this. But I'm 99% sure that after TCU, at Texas Tech. So there you go. Again, I have TCU's schedule up here. You look at the teams they lost to. They lost at Arizona, home against Washington, a couple of tough teams. They beat SMU, so that's obviously a big win. Ohio State is a pretty big win, and then they lost 2-0 at Florida State. Now, Florida State's the defending national champions, have not had the season that they've wanted to up to this point, but nonetheless, they have a lot of returners from a team that just won a national championship. So this is a tough TCU team that obviously challenged itself, and they get you at home. And this is a place where they have a one loss at home, but they have a couple of big wins and a couple of big results at home as well.
Yeah, and they got a big win on the road at SMU, right down the road in Dallas, because Oklahoma State couldn't pull that off on Sunday, and that's something that Coach Carmichael talked about that was very disappointing. They had a 2-0 lead on Sunday against SMU here at Neil Patterson Stadium, and then SMU came back. They went through overtime, couldn't get anything in, so they ended up with the second tie of the year, and it looks like TCU was able to pull it off. 1-0, but they're able to pull it off in enemy territory, so that's going to be something that you're looking at on the sketch you circle because they were able to do something you didn't.
Yeah, should be absolutely fascinating. Anything else we missed, Jordan?
I think that's it. I think we got all the bases covered, even with it all being busy. Excited for next week. We'll get to see, obviously, Charlie Morgan on here, but see how golf did up in golf, and also see how softball's looking. See, it's the fall. Nobody really knows. They just throw people out there, but to see how the rotation looks, just whoever Coach Geiske puts out there.
Yeah, and the debut of Coach Barfelt as well.
Definitely.
Looking forward to it. All right, that's going to do it. Episode 33 is in the books. As we said, we'll talk about so much more. These episodes may start getting longer again. We appreciate everyone that tunes in. If there's something you want to, by the way, if there's anything you think we're missing out on or not giving enough credit to, enough credence to, just shoot us a message on Twitter or wherever you, wherever. Leave a comment on YouTube. We appreciate everyone that does tune in though, and we obviously wouldn't do this if no one listened. So, well, we might. I mean, we enjoy talking Cowgirl sports, so I'm not going to lie to you. We might still do this, but we really do appreciate everyone that tunes in, and let us know what we could do better there on YouTube. So appreciate you tuning in. Episode 33 in the books. Jordan, we'll catch you next week. Cowgirl Coverage Podcast, Triple Play Podcast Network.